Welcome to part 2 of the video on the coordinate plane. Make sure you follow along on your graph paper. In the first video, we just mainly focused on what's called the first quadrant of the coordinate plane, only positive numbers. Now we're going to focus on all 4 of the quadrants. So you can already see that we've got some negative numbers in here in addition to the positive numbers. Alright, let's create your own coordinate plane on the graph paper. Follow along with me. First, let's put our x-axis. Remember, the x stretches out, so it's going from left to right. So I'm going to pick one of these lines on my graph paper, going horizontally, left to right, and I'm going to make that the x-axis. And I'll label it with an x. Now, let's draw the y-axis. And you remember a y like a person stretching up. So we're going to pick one of these lines going up and down vertically, and we'll label that y for the y-axis. Now, I want you to remember that the two number lines intersect, they meet at 0 on each number line. So in the very center of our coordinate plane is the origin. That's the point 0, 0. Go ahead and label that on your graph, 0, 0. And that's because at that point we haven't gone anywhere in the x direction and we haven't gone anywhere in the y direction. So both coordinates are 0. Alright, now let's fill in some labels on the x-axis. Remember, this is just like a number line. It's really important that when we do this, we make the numbers go along with each of these tick marks, the lines that I'm making right here. So the first tick mark is 1, then we've got 2, 3, and so on. Go ahead and label all of yours on the x-axis. And remember, now this coordinate plane also has negative numbers. So before 0 to the left of 0, I've got negative numbers like -1, -2, -3, and so on. Go ahead and label those. Now let's put some tick marks on the y-axis. We've got my tick marks, and I could keep on going forever. I'm only going to go up to 6 and then down to -6. So now again I'm going to label the tick marks, not the spaces, 1, 2, 3, and so on. And then down here below 0 is -1, -2, -3. Go ahead and finish that. And voila! Your coordinate plane should look like this. We're going to use this to graph the next points. As we graph points, you should graph on the coordinate plane you just drew. I'm going to use this one. And I just want to point out, because it's not actually the best coordinate plane, because the numbers, we should make sure that they go along with each of these tick marks here. So 1 goes with this tick mark, this line, 2 goes with this line, 3 goes with this line. It's really important so that we know where we're graphing. Alright, we're ready to graph some points. Let's graph point A at 3, 2, and I always write the x and the y over the ordered pair so that I know which one is which. Point A, or 3, 2, we go over to 3 on the x-axis, and then we go up to 2 on the y-axis. So point A is right there on the lines where they intersect at 3, 2. I'm going to label that point A, and then I'm going to clean up these lines here so I don't get confused by them. Once you get the hang of graphing ordered pairs, you probably won't need to make any lines. It's just sometimes helpful for us to use our pencils to see where we're going. Okay, the next point is point B, and the coordinates are -4, 5. So again, that's the x and then the y. The x-coordinate is -4, so I'm going to go over to -4, right here. And the y-coordinate is 5, so I'm going to go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right here. Here's point B. And I'll, again, clean up some of those lines so I don't get confused by them. And finally, let's graph point C. Point C is at -3, -2, So again, x comes before y. I label the ordered pair. And -3, -2 tells me to go over to -3, then down to -2. So point C is right here where the -3 line and the -2 line meet. And I'll clean that one up a little bit. So now I've got 3 points. You should have these 3 points on your graph paper.